Welcome in once again. Today I have two of QSP's newest models, the Gorilla and the Otter. Now the Gorilla in black micarta is $65, while the Otter in its foil-infused carbon fiber is going to be $114.80. What an oddly specific number. I see more and more after the Penguin, Canary, and now these two. The pattern is obvious and clear. They lean into using animal names pretty heavily. Now, I've noticed this with a few Chinese companies, especially in the EDC space. Products that are either considered weapons or are weapon accessories as defined by whatever agencies there are that happen to be around the world. When that's the case, these Chinese brands tend to kind of stay far away from product names that directly indicate this. Like it's going to set off some sort of trigger or something. Like there's been a huge rash of low-priced red dot optics coming into the U.S. market over the last several years. And those use animal names, nature names like oak and stuff like that. I know there's a red dot optic called the Otter. I know there's one called the, not the big oak, something oak. Anyway, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just something that I've noticed, and now I kind of can't unsee it. It's like they're afraid to use some direct product names that may point it in some direction. Because as we always have to constantly defend here in the U.S., especially when we're dealing with social media companies like Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and all that with their censorship and shadow banning, we always have to defend the photos we post of our knives and go, they're tools. They're not weapons, they're tools. They're only a weapon if somebody decides to use it as a weapon, like a hammer or a baseball bat. Those are not weapons, but they can certainly be used as weapons, and that's what we constantly have to say about our knives. Normally, I would do a separate video for each of these knives, but I don't feel that there is enough substance to them individually to warrant the additional time for you to watch, the time and work for me to video and edit the video and then upload. QSP does a phenomenal job at OEM work for a lot of cool brands like EMP EDC. These are still among my favorite knives in my collection over the past few years. And they do really well with making clean, basic folders at very low prices for their own brand. The Canary here is a great example of that. And each of those obviously warranted their own videos. This is a higher priced product, a more premium product that they make for EMP EDC. And it really, you can feel it, you can see it. It's a completely different kind of product. They're not trying to sell this for under $100. These are in that mid to high $300 range. Some of their stuff can be a little bit on the bland side, somewhat pedestrian designs, really. And that's where I would place both of these designs right here. If you're looking for a good basic folder for EDC or actual hard use, and you don't feel you need to pay the price for super steels or unique mechanics or unique locking mechanisms or anything like that, the Gorilla is probably going to serve you very, very well. It's bare bone basic, however, while not as lovable as the Penguin, it's a more robust, tougher knife that feels like it can take some abuse. This would be a reasonable, low-cost alternative for most Benchmades and Spydercos, or kind of a lateral financial move from maybe a CRKT. It's not, fancy materials. It's not crazy super steels. It's not crazy high Rockwell hardness. It's just good performance in a solid built knife in a basic design that most everybody can find agreeable. While this is a fine knife, I don't want you to watch the video and go, man, Jim really loves this thing. He's going nuts. I need to get one in my hands immediately. And then you get it and go, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not anything great. Just want to set you up for a reasonable expectation of what this really is. So you got a 14C28N blade, which is actually a pretty good steel for a budget Chinese steel. It holds its edge pretty darn well. I think that most people that have a knife in 14C28N would tell you the same thing, that you don't really have to worry about resharpening it very often. You can use it and abuse it, and it's going to perform well for, normal, regular, everyday folder activities. So you've got a steel liner lock flipper in micarta, overall length of 7.875 inches, blade length of 3.375 inches, and a closed length of 4.5 inches. Now the flipping action, as I mentioned before, everything is really, really smooth, but the flipping action itself, I do kind of wish it had a little bit stronger of a detent. Oh man, the clip is tight. Trying to pry this open is as tough as trying to pry the crack pipe out of Hunter Biden's grasp. It is really, really, really snug. So it's going to hold in the pocket really well. You don't have to worry about that. Another steel liner lock, the Otter, is much smaller and more discreet than the big old Gorilla. The upgraded S35VN steel choice for the blade, the upgraded scale material in the aluminum foil infused carbon fiber, and the titanium pocket clip. Let's get a good look at that. Nicely milled, nicely beveled. It has a much more attractive look to it. And the retention is set better on this clip. While you still got good, strong retention, it doesn't feel like it's impossible to pry open. Most of the time, a stamped clip or just a bent clip is going to be easier to live with than a milled clip is. Sometimes a milled clip isn't done right, and there'll be a gap between the body of the knife and the clip, and you can tap it, and you can hear it slap it against the body. Now, the scales feel more like plastic than carbon fiber. But yes, they are carbon fiber, and the silver topographical look that you've got kind of going on here, that's actually a silver aluminum foil that's basically pressed into the carbon fiber when the carbon fiber is being made. But keep in mind, this is a short and thin blade. So that means it's going to be very, very lightweight. So it's not going to be a mind-blowing flipper. It is going to be a light switch operation. You cannot push button it. So you're just going to be swiping down across it. And yeah, it's they did a good job on the flipping action on this. I like that. Overall length of 6.5 inches. Blade length, 2.7 inch S35VN blade. They have the blade stock thickness listed as 3 millimeters thick. And the weight is an awesome 2.6 ounces. This weighs almost nothing. When this is in your pocket, it just disappears. You're hardly going to even know it's there. And because it's so short and because it's so narrow, you actually have some room in your pocket. And the Gorilla is kind of a big burly gorilla compared to that little Otter, isn't it? Please subscribe if you're not subscribed to all 3 of my channels. My main channel, which is Jim Skelton Knives, then A to Z EDC, as well as Quick Cuts, Jim's Quick Cuts, my shorter, abbreviated reviews. And it depends on where you're watching this and how chopped up this video is. If you're watching it on that channel or my main channel. Remember, the main channel gives you the full length video. This is probably going to end up being about 20 minutes on my regular channel. And this will be somewhere around the 5-minute mark on the Quick Cuts channel. So there you go. Anyway, I'll see you on the next video.